Hi guys, so I'm here with my reading wrap up for December. December was a bit of a strange reading month for me. It started off really well and then it seemed to sort of taper off a little bit. I got into a little bit of a reading slump, I would say, a little bit. So I managed to finish 7 books in December, which I'm still really happy with. So the first book that I read was Love With Me by Kristen Proby. This is the I was going to say second, it's not anywhere near the second, it's like the 11th book in her With Me in Seattle series, and I love this series, and I really enjoyed this book. It's a really nice sort of contemporary romance, as pretty much all of Kristen Proby's books. This one I enjoyed because the previous book in this series I enjoyed as well, but this one I think I definitely enjoyed that little bit more. And the two main characters, I remember his name is Jace, but I can't remember what her name is to save my life. He's a prominent heart surgeon and she's a veterinarian with her own practice, and they're both very involved in their own jobs, and they've always been friends since college, and they're always each other's sort of plus one, but when something happens at Jace's job and they get to spend more time together, they realise actually that there's probably more feelings underneath the surface than what they realised. So it was really cute. It was a really quick fun read and I gave it sort of 4 out of 5. Really enjoyed that book. And then the next books that I read were all sort of one after the other, and I had them here and now I seem to have put them somewhere. Where are they? I had them there to be organised and then I couldn't remember where I put them. I literally read these kind of by accident. I read them literally one after the other at the beginning of December, and it's the McCabe trilogy by Maya Banks. So the first book is In Bed with a Highlander. The second book is Seduction of a Highland Lass, and the third book is Never Love a Highlander, and I would give all 3 of these books 5 out of 5 stars. I read them, like I said, completely by accident. I was on Goodreads and someone had updated their status saying they were reading the first book in that series. I went to check out the synopsis just out of curiosity, really liked the sound of book 1, downloaded it, started reading the first book. Instantly hooked. I absolutely loved it from the get-go. I devoured the first book in just over 24 hours, I think. I just couldn't put it down. I loved it, and then instantly downloaded the book 2 and book 3 and just devoured them. I can't pick a favourite between them. I love all of them. I actually told my boss about them, she downloaded them and also devoured them one after the other. I just absolutely loved them so much, and that was kind of what put me in a reading slump, because after I read those 3 books I loved them so much, and I think unexpectedly loved them so much that then afterwards I was a bit like, what do I read now? They'd put me in sort of a book hangover because I loved them so much. I just wanted those books to go on. And when they finished, I was like, I don't know what to read now. I did start reading 2 Regency romance, Christmas anthologies, and I didn't finish either of them, so I haven't put them in my wrap up. But I really thought I would love reading them and I would get them finished, and I just didn't finish them, which has really annoyed me because I was really looking forward to reading, Regency historical romance set around Christmas, and that didn't really happen. So the next book that I finished was Rock King by Lara Lee. This one was, again, one I stumbled upon by accident, and I don't know if I didn't love it because I had this book hangover. I did find some of the plot points a bit slow, a little bit repetitive. It's basically about this rock star, I can't remember his name. See, really bad, my memory at the moment for names is shocking. But basically he hires, he's the front man of a huge rock group, and he has, suffered through drugs, alcohol, etc. So to sort of avoid those vices, he hires a girlfriend for each tour to sort of, help keep him on the straight and narrow. And the girl that he hires next, they end up having a bit of, you know, a real relationship, but it's like, what's real, what's fake. It was an interesting concept, but I didn't love it. I ended up giving it sort of like the 3 out of 5 star marks, because I think this series has a potential. I think because this is the first book in a series, I'm intrigued to see where the rest of the books with the other members of the band go, because, you know, it could just be, you know, the first book setting things up is not always, you know, the best, and is not always the story for, you know, the rest of the series. It's a bit like with Tilly Cole's Sweet like series. The first book in that series is not my favourite, so I'm hopeful with this series that I enjoy the rest of the series more than this one. I just feel like the potential of it was there, and overall it wasn't a bad book, but I didn't love it. And then the next 2 books I read were part of the same series, and they are The Duke That I Marry and If Ever I Should Love You by Kathy Maxwell. These are historical romance books. I've read the first book and the third book in the series. I haven't read the second book yet. I read them out of order by accident. And they were both okay Regency romance reads. I'd give them both about 3 out of 5. They're just not, because I'm used to reading Lisa Kleypas. Lisa Kleypas is my favourite. These just didn't quite meet that same standard, I guess. I did enjoy them. The first book in the series is actually If Ever I Should Love You, and that was quite interesting because it was about the 2 characters had met previously in India, and the female character had actually been sort of abducted and abused, and he took not the blame, but he covered her. He hid the fact that she had been abused to save her reputation, and he said that he had murdered the guy that attacked her in a duel over jealousy and things like that. So these characters had a history, and it was interesting to me that the female character was, I don't want to say she was flawed because she was abused, that's not what I mean, but she was she had a demon because she had basically taken to brandy to help her cope with like the memory of it. So she always she uses that to cope, and I thought it was quite interesting because you don't really see that in Regency type romances, that the female protagonists in them, you know, have a drinking problem basically. So I thought it was interesting because that was a bit unique in that you don't see that, and how she has to overcome it. The other book that I read, The Duke That I Marry, again was okay. Again, I don't know if it was just because I'm in that sort of reading funk, but I just didn't love it. So yeah, that's everything that I read in December. I'm quite happy with what I read because, you know, for the first half of the month with reading Love With Me by Kristen Proby and the McCabe trilogy by Maya Banks, I absolutely loved them. So I managed to find with Maya Banks, you know, a new author that I'm really interested in reading her books. So it wasn't a total loss for me. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Happy reading.